Hi, everybody. Yeah, I was kind of meant to say hello and to introduce the guys in a cool way, but I spilled water everywhere. So I'm sorry. Hi, everybody, guys. We are live, by the way, with Citizens Odyssey. And we have today with us another project, a cool project. You probably know them as a validator, top validator, and not only validator, it's Citadel One. And I have with me Anton and Reena. Hi, guys.
Nice to
Hello,
meet you.
nice to meet you again.
Yes, again, yes, again. I think we actually met with Rina. We met several times, and Anton, I'm sure we have met in Moscow, possibly several years ago, 3 or 4 years ago.
No,
No,
no.
no, you were
I'm
not.
a real private guy.
You were not at the Tezos meetup like in 2018 or
No,
19 or
no, no,
something like that. No, damn, wasn't you? Oh well. Um,
He looks like
guys.
kind of this very generic person.
It looks like a generic person, but he's a private guy. I like it. I like it a lot. Um, I can see that, Arena, you have some echo, but I don't think it's a problem. So, I mean, it's a stream. I'm sure people will
Yeah.
kind of like understand. It's not a problem. Ignore that. It's not.
I mean,
But no, not a big deal. While you're playing around with it, or if you're gonna play around with the sound, which you shouldn't, just leave it like that. It's all good. Anton, first question to you: do you want to introduce yourself, and what do you do? How did you come to work at Citadel, and what does Citadel do? Does
okay. Uh, I start my career as a software engineer. So I working on the outsourced development many years before Citadel. So I try to bring new products to the world, which some companies ask us to develop, to implement. So when I met the guys for running Citadel One, I start thinking about the crypto as a nice tool set which we should bring to our users, our stakers, and it was the first concept of the Citadel uh, to bring some features for our users around different ecosystems, around different networks. So that's how Citadel One starts. So we was focused on our product mostly, and I try to lead it. I try to ship new features and explain for our users how they may stake around different ecosystems. So that's my role, and that's why I not a public guy because I focused on the software mostly.
we were
R-
hiding him.
the gem, the gem. Rina, before I move on to you, Anton, a bit of a follow up kind of thing. What about yourself? How did you get into blockchain? How did you connect with not Citadel, but in general? What brought you into this industry?
Oh, it's hard question because I used Bitcoin many years ago, and and that was really not strange, but maybe obvious use case as the money as a money on the early stages, and I just use it to buy some stuff on the internet, to sell some stuff on the internet. For me, it was like improved web money or some sort of internet money. And but I don't start it like mm, huge parts of my life. It was just the money, and that's it. But one day, while I was a guy from the outsource development company, I met my colleagues, and they my current colleagues, and they asked me to think about staking when it was on early stages with Tezos. So they asked me to run a node, something like that. I tried, but I failed because I'm not good DevOps, and I just focused um, on the engineering, on architecture. I'm not at good skills to run in some nodes or some sort of stuff. So that's that's how we found our CTO Gregory because he could run our nodes. But I started thinking about Citadel as a product. So we was a validator with product from our first stages, our first steps. So we try to deliver something for our stakers, and we still try, we still improve it. Yeah.
This is DevOps. Yeah, DevOps is one of those, I think, golden. Like it's DevOps is like community managers, but like the community managers in DevOps,
Mm,
impossible to find in crypto. Like, no, but
it's really hard.
yeah,
We
but
now
of
have
course.
boss. Yeah,
Rina, what
I
about?
think for validator is the most important guy because if you got brilliant DevOps, you
100%.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I agree. This is our. Ironically, 10 minutes ago, I posted on Twitter from Citizen Cosmos that we are looking for a DevOps. So, you see how it works. It works fantastically. Rina,
yeah.
what about you? What's your story? How did you get to blockchain and how did you get to work with Citadel One?
A very funny story though. I hope my echo is not that bad because I'm literally in his glass room, so that's why probably. But I'm sorry.
It's
So
okay.
I've started back in today's. I think it was like around 2017, so it's been like more than 4 years since I've started like working with crypto. I was involved mainly with the research first. So, I've got acquainted with a bunch of networks, Tezos among the first, Ethereum, of course. Then I was working with some guys who now associated with Citadel One, but I was mostly focused on research, engaging with some projects as well. So then we started working together with Staking Rewards on this, all-encompassing research digest about the staking ecosystem, and that's why I was like permanently interested in how like staking works, how the staking ecosystem actually develops. And it was like, I'm staking OG, and so which means when I joined Citadel, so it was kind of, a point of my interest to be involved with the validator role. But back in the days, it was not as transparent, and the validator role itself, it wasn't that important as it is right now. So I've started doing some, some general operations work. Like I think I'm still doing a bunch of, of different parts. Like if something is uncovered, I am. Me and Anton, we are the people who basically solve the issues, right? If something, comes up. But yeah, I started to work with the business development side, also keeping my independent research, and I'm switching more to developer relations person because we'll be launching our SDK. So I'm definitely looking to onboard like more projects, more use cases to settle one. Yeah, and actually, yes, I think we met at the Tezos meetup with you and Past Human, and yeah, it was quite a story because when I and recall this, I actually found the picture when Gregory was speaking at the stage, and we just spread around the this room. It was so amazing. It's just it's not real. Yeah,
It didn't happen. No.
no, it didn't. No, 100% no. Bros.
But when you say, by the way, a small follow-up question. When you say independent research, do you want to talk about it a little bit? If you can, of course.
Yeah, 100%. So I was like mainly involved with the general research, right? Nothing super technical or anything. But then I'm currently involved with some like academic programs. And recently, like I think maybe half a year ago, I've joined Validated Commons, and they were particularly focused on governance research associated with this MetaGov organization based out of Stanford, if I remember it correctly. So basically, these are a bunch of people who are trying to standardize, the validator practices, governance practices. And so I joined this MetaGov thing. I was trying to follow up everything. And then I basically decided to run this academic research focus on Cosmos governance, basically to figure out how the narrative, the general narrative for the Cosmos ecosystem affects the governance happening on chain. So it will be kind of all-encompassing research, so like nothing specifically, but I'll be definitely focusing on the level of engagement of validators and how it actually affects the value accrual for the ecosystem in general. So yeah, I'm very excited for it, honestly. So, and I met a bunch of guys who are also working at it. For example, like guys from Chorus One, some guys from Australian universities. So it's kind of a dope. I'm very keen to see where it's going.
Would love to hear later on if we have time what you
100%.
found out about it. But first question first, Anton, back to you. Could you share with us like the spec of products? Because as far as I understand, you guys have quite a wide range of things that you do. Do you want to talk a little bit about the ones that you want to mention, and maybe the ones that are the flagship products, so to say? I mean, of course, the staking application probably, but maybe something else.
Okay. So we start as a dashboard for overall of your rewards and some simple analytics around your stake. So it was the first concept for Citadel, and we still provide such data for our stakers around different ecosystems, not only Cosmos. For example, I don't know, for iOS users or Icon or some other ecosystems. So, or Polkadot. So that tells, yeah. So it was the first concept. So just a dashboard without any wallet features, without any specific features, so without any interactions with the crypto. But when you just ship such dashboard, you start thinking about how you may unify staking around different ecosystems. So we start thinking about it, and we deliver our first version of not a wallet, but some sort of the dashboard like Kepler provide for the users, for the staking, for the redelegation, for claim, for other features around the staking. So after it, we standardize it around different ecosystems and think about delivering more features around crypto, because you want to lock your users right on your platform. So that's how we not invent, but how we start to make some MVPs for dApps which based on our platform. What's the difference between dApp in some common way and dApp on the platform? dApp on the platform can be linked or execute from other application right on the platform, because it's much easier to make some communications between them. So we start to research that approach, and we ship our first dApp on Citadel, right on the Citadel. I think in December 2022, and now we finish our dev center for any developers team who want to start with the Citadel as an entry point for the crypto project, and they may easily develop some MVP, some hackathon project, and ship it right on the Citadel. If you got some huge project with ton of the features, you may also create or redevelop your product on our platform. But what the benefits for that approach? You shouldn't think in the future, not now. You shouldn't think about some integration for example, for on-ramp exchange for some DEXs, because you may just in the future use some swap aggregator like Apple Pay. So you shouldn't think about such complex use cases, because now, for example, LiDAR route you to the 1 inch if the price become depect from Ethereum. So you shouldn't go to another product to buy some tokens and use them in LiDAR after it. it's not so good for the user, because you should switch one product to another, come back after, and do some actions after. But Light is a simple product for users interaction, because you couldn't make a lot of features around it. You could just wrap token or unwrap or get some derivatives, but there is not so many features around it. But if you got some complex product, for example, if you got some I don't know, social network which based on the crypto, you need to mint NFTs, you mint some tokens for some interactions. You may implement really many other dApps for your social network, but now it's really hard problem to solve, because you need to implement each dApp right on your platform, redevelop it, or use existing dApps, and it's really hard. But it's really strange, because crypto don't increase complexity for from the beginning, because if you try to remember the first hard contracts, they not on the same level, of course, but they don't make some leap forward, some increasing of the level of the complexity, because you still work with some smart contracts, and that's it. You don't use bunches of that contracts. You don't use benefits from other dApps, and that's really strange. But I think the only explanation for it, it's just like we start thinking about Web3 world really early, and we don't think about that that shift from Web2 to Web3. We think that we should solve any problem with Web3 approach, and I don't try to push Web3 back to Web2, because it's strange too. But you may use the benefits, because most of the great solutions for Ethereum, for example, also got some Web2 features, because some data providers store most of the data on the databases. They don't provide it directly from the blockchain. They just rework them, and they just wrap in some Web2 services. And that's okay. That's not a problem for me. But some people, some crypto guys, think that we should use only Web3, only decentralized application, and I think it stuck us hard, because we couldn't just create some brilliant products, or products with really simple usage for regular users right now, because regular users won't switch from SEX, because it's much easier to interact with crypto on SEX. You shouldn't think about transaction signing. You shouldn't think about mnemonic. Yeah, but now it starts shift. But in any case, it's really hard to onboard in crypto, and there are many issues around, because you need to know so much. You need to know how to sign transaction. What you should think what you sign right now, and you couldn't just use some service or trust to some service, because you need to research each service which you want to use, and it's really hard to send your crypto from one network to another. But it's just like a basic case, especially if you got, I don't know, few ecosystems which not connected like IBC way. It's really hard to manage it right now, and it also hard for experienced user, because if you know that there is a breach somewhere between some networks, you need to go there, you need to make the transaction. That takes really much time. So our concept is base some use case on specific applications and interact between them. But we are on the early stages, because the first year we spent for building apps for the first layer of of the applications on our platform. So in the next year, we will provide our dev center for new groups of the developers, and also we will focus on our aggregation applications like DEX aggregator or NFT aggregator, and you may mint NFT or use some DEX around any ecosystem which we support. So that's the concept.
And Reena, if considering what Anton just said, that you want to be like a layer for onboarding users, let's imagine that I was not somebody who was familiar with the concept of staking. So elify to me what Citadel One does. I am not from the crypto world. I've never heard about blockchain.
Yeah, I mean, 5-minute explanation by Anton is not exhaustive enough. But yeah, so how I explain to my mom what I do, because I mean, in
Yeah.
no way she will be able to, to set up any crypto wallet. I mean, she does not even understand the difference between Bitcoin and blockchain in general. So I'd say we're trying to make crypto accessible for any kind of newbies. We're still only, on a very long way to this. But I interface level is like, in our values, like in our beliefs, is the trigger for mass adoption. If we bring this general financial experience, like general or financial application experience to crypto, it will be so much easier to onboard and sustain users. And we are also trying to not only to provide the basic functionality, right? Not only to enable sending or enable staking, but we're also trying to provide more complex solutions. So by packing and abstracting this crypto logic for users, we're actually bringing a lot of empowerment to the projects who are building value. So if I'm talking to my mom, I'd say, so people are building projects, and we're trying to make it easier for users to know and actually access those specific projects and use it. So yeah, in a couple of words, it will be like making crypto more accessible. And yeah, and in non-custodial way, like, so you don't have to share any kind of private information, right? And also cross-platform, so it's usable between various kinds of platforms, like web platform, Web3 wallet, if you prefer that, I don't know, mobile. So we're trying to make it all-encompassing and usable.
I guess the main thing is you also can get paid for it, right? So get a reward for that. I mean, for the normal user, you forgot to say
Oh,
that. Come on,
staking.
she
Oh,
doesn't know. She
staking.
doesn't know that
Oh,
that you can get paid.
staking. Staking 100%. Staking, yeah. It's like if I try to explain Citadel is a bit different to how I explain staking, right? Because like what we do, like product level, is a
Hmm.
bit different to what we do as a validator. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I can explain validator to my mom. Like, it won't be like, a short story, but
And
yeah, staking, of course, is how it's like alternative to the general financial markets, but in crypto. So
And
yeah,
it works
just
like a bank
that.
deposit.
Right, right. And it's
there we
it's
go.
also like, see, it's not looking any solid to her. Honestly, it just some
Well, I
some
mean,
kind of schema, right?
well,
So we have to be very, yeah.
you could use solitaire. I guess you could say solitaire, but with rewards. Like you solve solitaire and you get one, I don't know, €1 for every time you finish solving solitaire. Now I guess bad example,
Bad
but in
example.
the future maybe maybe. So guys, next question that I have is, and it's for both of you, and maybe Anton and then Rina, you can answer in turns, or one of you. Um, I'm trying to kind of like put a time frame on when Citadel started expanding. And I remember the point where Citadel was a very small validator, and then very quickly it was a very quick flip. Like you didn't have that progression line. Like usually, sometimes not every validator, but most validators, they're either small, either big, or they have the slow grow steady or slow grow fall. For you it wasn't like that. It was like pam pam. What do you I mean, you already said that your focus is, I mean, at least for the outsiders. Of course, from the inside, it might have been very different. I'm only judging from the outside right now. And of course, you already mentioned that your focus is on making things simple, onboarding users, and that probably helped you to achieve that. What else, in your opinion, helped you to become a very, well, not the largest validator, but I would say you are a very big validator. So, what helped you, in your opinion, to achieve that place?
I think when we start incentivize our stakers to stake on us, but some validators think that's the bad practice because it's in some point of view it sounds like a bribe or some sort of it. But I think it's much better than to set zero fee for your for staking fee like some validators do, and most of the validators try to solve that problem either. So I think that incentivization one of the our, I don't know, secret sources of that growth. Maybe Rina got
Actually,
another
yeah. I
opinion.
think it's like three main points. Of course, equity rewards for staking is one of them. I'm pretty sure because I mean, incentives gonna buy your attention. But another thing is, of course, we've been communicating a lot of a lot of value to the ecosystem. I believe, like by actually contributing. At some point, like the more people are educated about like who is the good validator to stake with, so people understand that the value of contribution that validator is actually bringing, because it's a long-term value accrual for the ecosystem. And so this is another point. So like people got to use Citadel One. People understood we are building some tools. Like we have this governance bot. We also very consistent in voting. Expressing our opinions. Just sharing public information about how we cast votes. And then, of course, we got, at certain point, we started to scale to Cosmos networks like crazy. So I think we've been integrating like maybe 10 projects, maybe 15 projects, like in a couple of months. So it was very easy for us to join new networks and, come and contribute there by integrating it inside Settle One. And then, of course, we started to scale the functionality. So we started to add dApps. And, a lot of people are just, remained like when they come to Citadel, they are sustained as users. So, like, man, I think they just come and like us and then stay and bring friends. And at a certain point, it was like easier to scale as a validator. So yeah, I guess this is like the main 3 points, like equity incentives, the contribution, and the communication mainly. So
I'm gonna like play a little bit devil's advocate now, because but it's questions to help me to understand, and everybody who's
100%.
listening and your community, how you guys work. So all validators incentivize in some way, of course, because they have to pay out rewards, so they're already incentivizing. All validators communicate, and all validators, in their own opinion, bring value. So everything you said, everybody does, but not everybody becomes big. So what is the? I mean, you both mentioned incentivization. Could you maybe like expand what kind of incentives, and like how did you shape that system to help it stand out from other validators? Because others did it as well, but they didn't make it big. So obviously you were doing something better. So I'm trying to understand what it was.
no, Xcity is just like a cashback for for staking with Settle One nodes via Settle One platform. So I haven't seen much people doing that in crypto. I know like Cleomedes Validator is doing this.
Post-human, I think.
Posthuman, of course, yes. So like Audit One back in today's did that,
Yeah.
but it's not like a common practice, and it was like one of the main drivers. And
Hmm.
also, I think another like important point. So I was mentioning like we scale like faster to a bunch of networks. And so when users starts to to use the Cosmos ecosystem, it's normally not only one project. It's you're staking a cache, and then you're staking persistence, and also you getting to know Juno, and you just see Citadel One everywhere, and you also use Citadel One platform. And I guess this is how we also got our name, maybe like the awareness.
Mhm.
So maybe that was it, but
The
I'm not entirely
package,
sure.
the package
No,
together,
not like the
the
package, but also yeah. So like we are, I think we're a brand now, especially
brand.
after this
Okay.
situation with Jacob Gadikian, right?
I have
Everybody
questions
knows.
from I have questions from Jacob, but we will leave them towards the end. Wait, we're
Okay.
gonna go progressive because Jacob did ask questions publicly, so I will of course ask, but
Okay.
let's leave it to the end. And no, it is true though. I think all those things contribute. I think like jokes aside, like those things of
Mm-hmm.
course contribute, and I think you were very at one point. I remember seeing Citadel everywhere. Like I remember like okay, I did see Citadel somewhere in the Explorer, and then at one point Citadel, bam, 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 here, here, and I think, of course, that must have contributed to your growth because, of course, when you see the project everywhere and you see good things from them, and okay, maybe subjectively you don't agree with something, but still, if the project is growing, you kind of think, okay, they're growing. I want to be part of it. So I think that is, in my opinion, at least, contributed to you guys. Um, Another question that I kind of had in mind is well that I ask every validator that we do a profile in like kind of thing for is what do you guys plan for of course you kind of gave it away when Anton was talking about all the services that you're planning, but let's talk about more realistic short-term plans, maybe
I love
project. Damn, that's not gonna work, is it? But let's try like something that you guys are planning that you can talk about in the next like half a year or 3 4 months, maybe onboarding new networks, maybe starting new services. If you could share that, that'd be very 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 cool.
From application perspective, which built in Citadel, I think we focus on the DApp of DEX aggregator. So they try to deliver something like a Rango exchange deliver for the users. So we want to aggregate current DEXs to provide a single service, a single application, so which combine DEXs and bridges. So we want to use IBC and Axela to transfer token around different ecosystems, and we may use DEXs to convert the tokens directly from one to another. So that's the plan for next half of the year. I think we also will ship some NFT applications because we need to cover that area of the apps, of the type of the apps. Maybe we will change a little bit the plans, but that's a main plan for application. From our wallet perspective or dashboard perspective, I think we will focus on the notification of our users about airdrops, about new features and new applications, because we got a lack of features there. So we ask our users which not use Web3 entrance, Web3 login, about the email, but we don't send different types of emails because we only send some bi-weekly reports about the staking rewards, and that's it. So we want to make it more useful for our users and provide more data. But if they want to get some emails, that's okay. They may just disable it, and that's it.
Rina, what about from the business development side of your side of the project? What do you have in plans? Any new partnerships, maybe, or something that you could share with your stakers, or Any new?
Yeah, I mean, I am mostly excited for the Developer Center launch because we'll be able to actually onboard some new use cases that are, being built separately or already existing projects. But yeah, so I'm mainly working with Anton regarding the applications, so we can, be very, consistent in terms of getting new projects onboarded. So. I guess we'll be scaling for sure for newly launched networks within the Cosmos ecosystem. Archway, like Quicksilver upon its launch. Like we also have some plans, I guess, to integrate the liquid staking solutions like Stride inside the application section. And actually, Stride is working heavily on providing, validator metrics, which just like I mean, it makes sense to have this, all aggregated regarding different validators. And I'm also looking, me personally and Citadel is looking to contribute to this. But yeah, we've been in touch with multiple ecosystems and Cosmos, and also I'm looking into Sui possibly. But yeah, the best thing about Citadel One as a product is that we can onboard Ethereum application as easy as we can onboard like any kind of Cosmos app. So in terms of the business development, we're super open to any kind of, to any kind of opportunity. So we are looking for products. We're not looking to integrate some, some one day bullshit. And when it's real use case, it actually has the value. We're definitely having plans to get it integrated into Settle One. And yeah.
When you talk about values, guys, could you share a little bit? I'll tell you where I'm coming from, and this is going to be kind of like a pre-question, pre-story. Sorry, um, like especially when we saw the bull market, and I think it was very evident to a lot of crypto users, to a lot of users even from the side, that there is some kind of entity within blockchain, within crypto space. It's called validator. Doesn't matter which validator. Those validators, they make profit, especially during the bull market. And if I was to consider myself as somebody who's obsessed with blockchains, which I am, and I think of blockchains as the digital nations, like big nations out there in the future and la 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 la. So validators to me are kind of like businesses, and each business, they build like certain something within those nations. So my obvious question as a citizen of a nation is, what is this business doing with this money? I want to know, because they saying they're helping my nation grow. So the question to Citadel is, what does Citadel stand for? What is I mean, I understand onboarding new people to crypto. I like that. That is something that I can understand. But what is underneath all of that? I mean, you didn't just guys wake up and say, "Hey, let's onboard people to crypto." Like, what is motivating you? What is pushing you to do what you guys doing? What is your number one, not number one motivation, but what is the motivation?
I think
Sam.
I think it's really easy to answer the question, but it's hard to explain it properly because I think crypto moves on right direction, but but that road should be much longer that anyone try to imagine in their head, because we just want to live in Web3 world, but we couldn't just drop all Web2 features, Web2 advantages, and said, okay, we start our true Web3 uh, lifestyle, and we use only devs, and we forget about all good practices from Web2. So I think we just imagine right now that Web3 words are really uh, it looks like a bright city from the future, and the bright future which should definitely start from, I don't know, next year, but we need much more time. I think all industry need much more time, because there are no so many approaches, for example, for simple and secure storing of your mnemonic, because now I think the best practices is a ledger, but ledger not so good in many use cases. It's hard to use it in some specific ecosystem. It's hard to make some bunch of transactions with ledger because they got specific architecture on their side. So we need, I think, much more competition around various solutions, around various steps in that crypto, not an activity. We need much more competition around wallets. We need much more competition around wallet with extremely secured features, and all areas need much more companies and much more competition. That's I think motivate us to move that new approach, to try to implement new approaches for the wallet, for the platform, to deliver that useful crypto experience for everyone. So it's really easy concept to explain for non-crypto user, but when you try to explain what we try to bring for crypto user, they said, okay, we got dApps, and you just try redevelop all dApps right on your platform, and that's it. That's a concept. So I think it's much easier to explain it for my mom than for, I don't know, some crypto tech guy. Okay.
Do you want to add? Do you want to add to Anton's answer, Reena? Your own version?
Yeah, I mean, if like, because people have been asking me like why I'm with Citadel, and I think I share the core values, and the values we are coming from, like we've been non-custodial since the day one, and only now people start to understand like how self-custody actually matters. And so Citadel for me is just a coincidence of really good values. Like we're trying to simplify the way people interact with crypto. It's one, of course. I mean, this is what Anton is talking about. Like find the optimal way to do that and actually abstract a bunch of things from this unnecessary crypto complexity. But the second one is that we've been fighting for those ideals, and even we've been speaking in Dubai, I guess this March maybe, and we've been telling how we are coming from this non-custodial branch of crypto and how it is important. And back in the days, people be just like, yeah, but non-custodial, it's a lot of points for user management, like key management and everything. And I do believe like this is why we've been studying this all, and this is why we're very keen to have it all in one, and making the entrance for crypto in general and the user story inside crypto like less painful. But I don't really think that it's easier to explain this concept to the non-crypto folks, because I mean, I don't think there's this kind of application in Web2, honestly, because in Web2 they have like completely different issues they're solving. So maybe this part is not not so clear to me. But yeah, being non-custodial and doing great stuff like building the user stories is definitely the value I share personally.
If I was to imagine that in 5 years time, or I don't know, 10, let's say 6.5 years from now, all the Web2 features that Anton is mentioning has been now exist in Web3, and Web2 is not needed anymore. Just a hypothetical situation. 6.5 years, I don't know if it's enough or not. 10 years, whatever, doesn't matter. And Web3 is now able to do theoretically all the secure as securely, as efficiently, and as scalably all the things Web2 today can do. What is Citadel One doing in that scenario? What is the role Citadel One is playing? Because now the user onboarding happened. What is Citadel One doing next?
I think our focus on the long run is to be some sort of the operational system for the crypto. So we just provide features for specific networks for development teams, and they use it like a tool set. So if you know that some network focused on some specific use case, okay, you just use it like a tool set. So from, I think, developer's perspective, it looks like AWS for development. So if you need to store some data on the blockchain, you use blockchain A. If you need to do some blockchain for NFTs or rollup in Ethereum world for NFTs, you just use blockchain B. And you onboard users directly to that networks, and you provide specific features from that networks through the applications. So that's, from my perspective, how that complexity increasing works, because you route user directly and provide some generalized interface for all that networks, but that's a single app for some specific use case, like an NFT or whatever you want.
I like it. It's an easy concept to comprehend. And what about you, Reena? Do you have the same vision as Anton, or
Oh,
would you want to
100%,
add?
100%.
Yeah, okay.
This is genius.
Damn, we got it. Guys, what about like let's one more question. Oh, no, two, one. Okay, whatever. What is, in your opinion, since we're on the topic of onboarding Web 2 to Web 3, I guess? What is, in your opinion, the biggest abstraction right now? What is the biggest problem that doesn't allow us today to say, fuck Web 2, we don't need Web 2 anymore, here is Web 3, let's use it, it's amazing?
Education and key management.
Education, key
This is just on
management.
top of my
Okay.
head.
Okay, it's very good. And Anton, what about you?
For me, I think that that focus on the one specific address in one moment of your user experience, because it's hard to switch every time, especially on MetaMask, and change your network and change your address and change the permissions for address for specific depths. It's really hard for regular users which not adopted for that experience. And I think it's hard to start thinking right from the context of your single address, because I think that's one
key
of
management. Key management.
some sort of key management. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And
Let's
handling.
generalize it.
But it's true. But it's true. I remember. Like, I mean, I was following Cosmos from 2016, maybe end of 15. Maybe I heard, but I didn't read until 2016.
Okay.
Nothing. Well, whatever. Yeah, something like that. But I didn't believe when last year, was it last year? Yeah, it was only 2021 in the summer when Osmosis launched, and I was like, oh my god, it works. You don't need to like change things, and this was already a progress. And I can only hope that in 5 years' time we're gonna forget about what is key management, and I don't know, like Anton, maybe it's going to be like you say, different onboarding points, or it's an operational system or another system that allows you to start your own project. And I mean, I'm only hoping that that's the future, what's going to look like. So let's hope for that. One a bit of controversial topic, which I have to ask, the whole Jacob story, guys. Like, this was uh this was let's keep it civilized. Of course, I am not going to like now go, you have to answer me, right? But I would like to understand, because Jacob has left questions publicly, so, and I think it's fair enough only for me to ask those questions to you. And what happened? Well, why did you guys suddenly like start poof, and where did the atom break? Who smashed the atoms?
No, obviously it was me. But idea of my post was just point Jacob that he need to explain why we act like this, but he don't try to answer it. He starts blame us on unsecurity activity that I don't know, I got connections with the Jackal DAO team, and that started endless bullshit floods on all channels in Discord, in Twitter, and I don't want to attract additional
Attention.
attention for that situation, especially because Jacob wants to get it, and that's it. But if he wants to explain his actions in that situation, he may just easily provide it. He may say, "Okay, I just to ask to stop because of something, and I don't found some issues with the Jekyll, but he just repeats some strange topics and he changed it, and he blamed that I share some private screenshots, but he also sent some private screenshots. In any case, that's not a private Discord, that's a Discord from the validator, and anyone who get the link may be part of that Discord. So that's a complex story, but I just want to point Jacob that he should explain why he act like this. That's it. I don't want to attack him. I don't want to come to add some competition in his activity around security of the networks, because our contribution is really different. We don't got some developers who rework or review code of the nodes. That's not our part of the work. But he starts to blame us in all bad things around the crypto. He named me a stupid guy and so on and so on. And that's a boring story from my perspective, because if he wants to answer, he may did it easily, but he wants to create some additional mess.
Honestly, it was like a misunderstanding from both sides, like, and we do not want to, to diminish the value of Jacob as a contributor. He's a very good like value add to the ecosystem and everything. So I think it was just, it was just a set of actions that were not, coordinated properly. So, and this is very sad, and it's been, a huge lasting point for us for a couple of days, and as well for Jacob. So, I'm kind of, I don't think it's
Fair
necessary
enough.
to go back to this topic though.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So,
I'm gonna twist the question to keep your and Jacob's story out of it, but like to make it a generalized question that has got nothing to do with you and Jacob, but to understand your opinion on those kind of situations. So let's forget about that. And what do you think, guys, about um, validators' transparency? Should, in your opinion, validators' work be, and I'm not talking about just the work we do as validators, like the networks we support, or our, of course, we cannot say where our nodes are because that is security thing, that is stupid. But in terms of, let's say, accounting, for example, right, or let's say the people we employ, or any of the inside kitchen, should that kind of, because a validator is a public entity, should all of that work, in your opinion, or any of it, be public, or should all of those things be kept private, and that is up to validators to decide, because they are at the end private entities, even though they're public, they are private entities. So I think you get the question. Should the work of a validator be public, or should only, or should the validator decide which part be public and which part be private?
I think it depends on validator type, because some validators focus on the funds attraction to staking, and some validators focus on some small stakers. And there is a difference between the types, because if you based on the I don't know, small stakers, you need to be more transparent, because you try to provide some applications for that stakers. You try to provide some information, some videos, some some activity from your side. So I think if such stakers or other validators ask you about your activity and ask you about the transparency, you should answer to that questions, because you based on the public users, not the funds, not some private deals or some sort of it. So I think you should just explain why you act like, I don't know, like Jacob did, and you should just explain why and what you try to do with some I don't know, with some activities like fund spendings, with some activities like network stop, with some, I don't know, major events in your story like a validator. So I think that's a good enough, because I remember a story how one of our stakers asked us about some junior government's proposals, decisions from our side, because they changed our opinion, and that users ask us why we did like this. So why we change our opinion about one of the question. So I think that's a good situation to explain it. So if you attract people's tokens to your node, you should explain your decisions on the governance or some other decisions either. So that's why I try to point on Jacob's activity in that situation, because he's a public validator and that's it. So I think that's a good explanation of
Reena,
such.
living as you said, so we can like live. Like, let's abstract that question from the situation. I can
Yeah,
understand.
I just want to explain it, so that's it.
So abstract that question. If you want to add to that question, abstracting the situation, do you think a
Yeah.
validator should be public? I like Anton's answer actually, because it's a very logical answer.
No,
If
no,
you're attracting
100%.
tokens from delegators, you should go out there and explain why you're making anything. What about you, Rina? Do you think that pub validator should be like that, public or private?
Yeah, I'm certainly agreeing that it depends on the case, but I do think like validators should keep, accountable. So, for example, the metrics I'd like to see like from very community-based validators, like, as basically reward management. And so the idea I was pushing back into days is to have this kind of information, not only regarding the contributions of validators, not only like, the monitoring, the setup information, just like, formal registry, but also, the policies they have, how they vote, how they manage their words, what kind of, structure do they have. It seems like it's a very important metric for outside stakers too. So it's actually good if validator can stand for specific structure that it has, and having this kind of information in public will actually contribute a lot to the general transparency and bring a lot of like good validator practices. So I do believe like for custodial validators, if we can name them, it's a whole different story. But if we're talking about the retail validators, for sure we should have some public information available, and validator should always keep this kind of communication with the staker. If he has any kind of questions, it's very important that he cover your the policies, insurance policies, for example. It just should be available to the general public.
Okay, thank you, guys. Guys, to wrap it all up, is there something that you, as an experienced, not only validator, but a blockchain project with several years of experience already out there, um, what would you suggest? This is something I like to ask older projects, to anyone out there who wants to start, not necessarily a validator, but they want to start to not to work for another company in crypto, but they want to become their own business inside crypto. What is your suggestion to these people today? Somebody who's already did a lot of bumps, how we say in Russian, right? Bum bum, as in went through a lot.
It's a hard question for current market situation. But I think you should think about revenue streams, because if you try to create some new software for some sort of the wallet, the biggest issue for all of them is they couldn't create some revenue stream, because you couldn't just add some fee for any transaction on your platform, because it's looks strange, and users will switch to another wallet. So I think you should definitely think about revenue streams, and you should try to make it a sustainable business. I understand that it sounds a little bit strange for the crypto sustainability and crypto, but you should try.
I have my own perspective to this. Like, possibly, if you can research this stuff and actually dig into the user flow, dig into how the system, specific like ecosystem operates, you may find some specific points, like weak points from the user perspective, some pain points happening for either projects or of the users. And if no one is trying to build something to cover it, it's right your turn, right? So, for example, I've met guys from Rockaway Labs, and they started to build this observatory zone, which is in a sense just the aggregator for validator metrics, like technical, so verifiable, and also just very detailed, factual. So, and how come I was just looking into this product, and they've just started it a couple of months ago, and they've joined crypto a couple of months ago from cybersecurity perspective. And I was just thinking, how come no one actually built this before? And so this is about covering the pain points for various groups of like people. So I mean, there's always room, and crypto is still in a very initial stage. So it just makes sense to figure out what kind of stuff you can actually provide from a user perspective, from a project perspective. So this actually excited me a lot. I was just like, yeah, guys, this is something necessary.
Definitely, you guys, like I mean, both like Anton said and you said that, oh, it might not go together with crypto, but if I was to suggest, I would suggest the same things, because spending a long time in crypto and trying to avoid sustainability and trying to avoid research and all that and going, it's very difficult to do it. I mean, there is only so much intuition, where intuition, I think, stops, and then you cannot scale anymore. So I totally agree with what you guys are saying there. Guys, thank you very, very, very much for finding the time to join me. I hope to speak more with you in the future, but thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.